will not depart from our obligations with respect to the economic reform program.
That declaration in February 2015 set the tone for government's fiscal activities for the remainder of the year as it acted on strategic priority number 1. By doing that, Jamaica was able to maintain its track record, pass all IMF tests in 2015, and receive about $159 million more from the multilateral agency.
The program is on track, and policy implementation remains strong.
Dr. Yan Keys Martin was replaced by Dr. Uma Ramakrishnan in May as the head of the IMF mission to Jamaica. And in November, Dr. Ramakrishnan announced that Jamaica's primary surplus target would be reduced from 7.5%.
This additional fiscal space will provide an opportunity to increase public spending on capital outlays that boost growth and job creation, as well as to continue to protect social spending.
In July 2015, government received $2 billion through a bond on the international capital markets, the highest ever in a single transaction. $1.5 billion was used to fund the Petrocarib debt buyback in August, saving the country millions of dollars.
Our debt service will be lower by just under $300 million over the life of the transaction.
The remaining $500 million from the bond raised on the international capital markets allowed the government to fully fund $62 billion in local bond payments due in February 2016. There were other pieces of good economic news. The net international reserves stood at over $2.4 billion at the end of October 2015. Inflation from January to October was 2.9%. And in the July to September period, the economy grew by 1.5%, the strongest since June 2014. Being fiscally responsible in 2015 also meant that government had to stick to new fiscal rules approved by Parliament. In keeping with the new regime, the budget was passed in March before the start of the 2015-2016 fiscal year, the first time in the history of independent Jamaica. During the budget debate, the finance minister announced policy changes to the Students' Loan Bureau that took effect in September.
The benefits include the lowest rate of interest for a tuition loan, a longer repayment time, smaller monthly payments.
On the issue of tax reform, the withholding tax on specified services was implemented in September. Tax Administration Jamaica TAJ also rolled out the new S04 form to make it easier for self-employed persons to file their tax returns. TAJ's web-based Revenue Administration Information System also became operational in December. In the year that was, the Finance Ministry ensured there were more opportunities for businesses to grow and develop. The Development Bank of Jamaica, DBJ, announced in October that 30 entrepreneurs would benefit from its innovation grant from New Ideas to Entrepreneurship Ignite project.
A grant of up to $4 million Jamaican dollars, or 70% of a project cost, will be provided.
DBJ also began evaluating bids from 2 entities that have expressed an interest in acquiring Caymanas Track Limited, CTL. Government also announced that a contract was signed with Citibank to facilitate 8 million barrels of crude oil under the oil hedge program. And in November, 2 loans totaling $75 million were signed with the Inter-American Development Bank to strengthen Jamaica's social protection strategy and to implement Phase 3 of the education sector reform process. In March, Jamaica secured an $8.6 billion loan from the World Bank to enhance competitiveness and improve fiscal management. Parliament passed the Public Procurement Bill in July, and 1 month later, the country's first electronic procurement system was launched.
This has not just been done in isolation.
And so the Finance Ministry also rolled out the Public Financial Management System and the Medium-Term Results-Based Budgeting System to address weaknesses in the budget. These were partly achieved through a $100,000 grant from the United Nations Development Program in August to streamline the operations of the Finance Ministry. Public sector wage negotiations were also high on the agenda last year. Minister Daly, who was negotiating on behalf of the government, was reassigned to the Health Ministry in November. But prior to that, he spearheaded talks that led to government signing off on the compensation packages for over 95% of public sector workers. Workers settled for a 7% salary increase for the 2015 to 2017 contract period.
Whatever we commit to on the government side, we will deliver.
The year 2015, a successful one for the Ministry of Finance, Planning and the Public Service. The ministry was financially responsible while embarking on a credible macroeconomic program.